I guess 7:30. You just started talking.
Just so you know, the time started.
Oh, yeah, they know about the review.
Good evening. As president of the Lee Acres Neighborhood Association, I would like to thank each and every one of you for coming out tonight to show your concern and to show also your support for this Ward 3 Council Forum. At this time, we're going to ask Mr. Gus Hildenbrand, who is the Vice President of our Lee Acres Association, to stand and lead us in prayer.
Let us pray. Our gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this wonderful day that you've given us. We thank you for all the blessings you've given us. We thank you that you have given us help that we can be here tonight. May the things that happen tonight and the words that are spread be words that are good news to you. For we hope that in our neighborhood that we do the things that you would have us to do. For we ask all the blessings and thank you for your Son, Jesus Christ. In his name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I also want to thank the Tupelo Daily Journal for supporting this forum. And we're going to ask Mr. Lloyd Gray, who's the executive editor of the Tupelo Daily Journal, to come, and he's going to explain about the forum. Mr. Gray.
Thank you, Ms. Ashley, and thanks to the Lee Acres Neighborhood Association and to Lawndale Presbyterian Church for hosting this event. And thank you, candidates, very much for your willingness to offer yourselves for public service, first of all, and for your willingness to be with us tonight. The Daily Journal is sponsoring this event because we believe it's important for voters to be informed about the candidates and the issues in this election, especially since there's so little time for the candidates to campaign and get their message out, although I understand they've all been out knocking on doors and comparing stories about that this evening. We welcome our audience here at Lawndale Presbyterian, as well as those watching on djournal.com, and we hope this forum is helpful to you as you make your voting decision. And candidates, we trust also that you will benefit by the opportunity to speak directly to the voters of Ward 3. And please, if you live in Ward 3, vote on Thursday. This is a critical time for Tupelo, and the winner of this election will be a part of some very important decisions over the next 3 years. With that, I'm going to turn the program over to our moderator, Robbie Ward, the Daily Journal's local government reporter, who will lay out the ground rules and introduce our candidates. Robbie?
Thank you, Lloyd. Well, I've had the benefit of interviewing each of these candidates last week, and this evening you'll have a chance to hear from them. So the process this evening, each candidate will give an opening statement at 2 minutes. The timekeeper will let them know when they're getting close to their limit with a yellow card. They'll get a red card when it's time to wrap it up. Afterward, we'll do a question and answer period. Each candidate will have a chance to respond. They have a limit of 60 seconds for that. And then they have a closing statement, and they have a chance to speak for 2.5 minutes. After that, we will have a chance for each of the candidates to informally answer questions with any of you in the crowd who have any lingering questions. So to kick this off, I'll do a brief introduction, and then we'll start off with our first question. So to your right, all the way on the end, we have Derek Russell. He's the operations manager for the Link Center, and he's also a private business owner. We have Mr. Jim Pitts. He's a warehouse technician at Comcast. We have Mr. James Hull. He's a minister, a media consultant, and he's the executive director for Move Mississippi Forward. It's an organization associated with improving and supporting the advanced manufacturing of the state. And next to me, we have Ms. Lorna Holliday-McGee. She's a former teacher in the Tupelo Public School System. All the way at the end of the table, we have Mr. Travis Beard. He's a recently retired educator. He served as principal, vice principal, coach, and math teacher in the Tupelo Public School District. Next to him, we have Ed Breedlove. He's a manager at Gibson Corrugated. And next to me is Mr. Mike Coutoumanos. He's very familiar with city council things. He's a former city council member. He also is a healthcare professional. So to kick off our first question, and it will go to Mr. Beard. Oh, excuse me. Right now, we'll start off with our opening statements. And the first person will be Mr. Jim Pitts.
I'm glad Roger is as nervous as I am. Hello, I'm Jim Pitts. My wife Sheila and I have lived in the Acres for about 14 years, and we've really become concerned about some of the issues we see that affect the value of our homes and the safety of our neighborhoods. So, you know, it is our desire to be a part, an active part in helping these and finding solutions to them. Just a little history. My grandfather was a Methodist preacher, and my dad was a carpenter in later years. In earlier years, he raised us on a farm. We grew up from very humble beginnings and worked our way. I would like to say that, you know, from my granddaddy and my dad, I learned the benefits of being honest and integrity. I can say with pride that my granddaddy lived very strictly the message that he preached to the people. And my dad was, he and my dad both were known for being honest, men of integrity, hardworking, and you know, and also they taught me the importance of God's Word. I can honestly say that God's Word is the most important thing that I have. The most, be the one possession that if I had to give up everything else, that would be the last thing I want, because it, you know, just knowing what God did for me when He saved me, and it is my heart's desire to do that would please Him first. And I find as I work on a relationship with God and keep that in order, that it makes it so much easier to have a good relationship with my friends and neighbors. And Ward 3 to me is, in every sense of the word, the very heart of Tupelo. When I look at the map, I see that Tupelo is the most important part to me. When the heart dies, I had heart surgery. When you have heart trouble, you've got trouble. And I see some issues in our neighborhood that I really think we need to address. And I would love to use my skills as being able to get along with people. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Lorna Holliday-McGee. I am not originally a resident of Tupelo. I came from Chicago, but my family has roots here in the South, in Tupelo, Shannon, and Okalona. The reason I chose to run for in Tupelo, working as a volunteer on various organizations and as the vice president of Audubon Neighborhood Association. It's important to me as I drive through Tupelo in the 3rd Ward, and I notice things that should have been taken care of by now. There's a home on Lawndale that's for rent that is falling apart. I drove down Ida this morning and I saw buildings that have been torn down and the rubble still standing. Those are all issues that concern everybody in Tupelo, not just the 3rd Ward. I'm concerned about our seniors and their lack of mobility because we don't have public transportation. I'm concerned about our teenagers whose freedom is impaired because they can't get around on their own, and every parent cannot afford to purchase automobiles for teenagers. I'm concerned about people who have various handicaps and cannot get out because they can't drive, and yet they want to get out. They want to be a part of the community. They want to participate, and they are handicapped by a lack of public transportation. I'm concerned about code enforcement. The fact that there are code violations all over town, and at this point, nothing's been done. Code enforcement says they need more employees, and we need to make sure that happens. So I'm out asking you to listen to what I'm saying. This isn't a popularity contest. This is business. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is James Hull, and I am so happy to be here tonight. I want to thank the Daily Journal, first of all, for putting on this candidates forum. I'd like to introduce my wife, Chandra, who is in the back. And I really just have 2 reasons for wanting to be the next city council person in Tupelo. The first is this whole area is such a beautiful and wonderful area to raise children. We raised our last 3 children in Ward 3 over in the Lee Acres area. And it was and has been and will continue to be the most pleasant experience we've had. And I just want to represent this ward because I think that I can help continue that sensitivity, help continue that sensibilities about how great this ward is. I think every candidate here has pretty much zeroed in on what many of the issues are. I don't want to quibble with what the issues are. We know that there are some issues with code enforcement. I support the whole issue of transportation. But I think what we need more than anything else is somebody who can articulate those needs, who can vigorously fight for and represent Ward 3. Having been a reporter here for a number of years, I think I know this city well. I know what the public officials are thinking and what they're all about, and I think that I can help communicate the needs of Ward 3 just as well as anyone else. So I ask for your vote, and I can tell you I will represent you very, very well, and I will be, if not the, one of the best city council people that Tupelo has ever had. Thank you so much.
Good evening. If you'll bear with me, I have some allergy issues, so I'll try to be able to speak and get through this where you can hear me. It's great to be here. It's great to see this crowd, this audience, and it's even more rewarding to me to see as many candidates we have that are interested, like it's already been said, in the issues that we have in Ward 3. Like it's been said, I'm Mike Coutoumanos. I was born in Tupelo. I grew up in New Albany. My wife Sandy, who is here, we celebrated our 43rd wedding anniversary in July. We've lived in our current location on Hinton Circle for 27 years. I'm a healthcare professional since 1971 and a registered nurse for 38 years. I currently serve as an independent medical examiner for a company called Exam One. In 1996, I was traveling home from Jackson, Mississippi after a few days where I'd been lobbying for our company for some reimbursement needs that we had. On the way home, I was filled with a desire to become an elected official and did so in '97 after being voted in on our city council to represent Ward 3. I had a very great and rewarding experience when on the council, working with other council members for the common good, not only for Ward 3, but for the city as a whole. As I travel through the streets of Ward 3 and of Tupelo also, I see the Lawndale Elementary School, a gated apartment complex, the first aerial apparatus fire truck, a developing Fair Park district, a preserved Bel Air golf course. All of these that have been mentioned began during my term in office on the City Council. I believe Ward 3 has many desirable qualities that can and will be attractive to new families and businesses. Sandy and I came to Ward 3 for the same reasons we stay in Ward 3. We have schools, churches, diversity of businesses, roads that connect, comprehensive health care, great neighborhoods, and great neighbors. With your vote and support, we can build on a solid foundation. Thank you for your vote and support. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ed Breedlove. I would first like to thank the Lee Acres Association, the Presbyterian Church, and the Daily Journal for putting on this forum. It has been an honor and a privilege to be able to conduct meaningful conversations with hundreds of my fellow residents over these last few weeks. There is a quote that has stuck with me my entire life that says, "The moral test of government is how the government treats those who are in the dawn of life, the children, those who are in the twilight of life, the elderly, and those who are in the shadows of life, the needy, the sick, and the handicapped." This is just one of many reasons why I am seeking this position. This is our chance. This is our opportunity to provide this community with a leader who will actually work for the people. As a child, I grew up here right on Lawndale. I rode bikes. I made friends. I went to school right here in this area. As I became a man, I moved away to Oxford, Mississippi, where I began my career in business management. Over the last 10 years, through hard work and dedication, my career has taken me to other cities like Memphis, Tennessee, where I managed a $14 million business for 3 years. And finally, I came back home. With the help of God, I was able to meet my lovely wife, Kimberly. She's a 4th grade school teacher. And 2 years ago, we were able to bring in the joy of our life, which is our son, Lincoln. And through his life, I was able to figure out what it really means about the city and this future. I've laid out a plan that I call the 6 opportunities for a better Tupelo. This vision will help improve our communities, encourage development in our businesses, ensure our children are reaching their fullest potential, and leading our ward into a better tomorrow. Thank you.
Feel free. Good evening. I'm like-minded with everybody else. I want to thank everybody who put this on this evening. My name is Derek Russell. I am 29, and people have been asking me over the past few weeks what I could bring to the city of Tupelo. 3 weeks ago, I would have said energy. I don't have a whole lot of that anymore. I'm kind of tired. As the Director of Operations at the Link Center here in Tupelo, it's a legacy position I came into after having watched my grandfather, Marvin Harwood, care for the same facility for over 50 years when it was Harrisburg Baptist Church. I'm also the Executive Director of BizLink, which is a small business networking residence housed at Link Center, and a small business owner of Animal Care Center of Tupelo on Cliff Gookin Boulevard. I come from a lineage of supporters and employees of the City of Tupelo and the Tupelo Public School District. I'm a lifelong resident of our city. I feel that running for this position is my opportunity to give something back to a community that's given me so much growing up. I've been told I'm the one that kind of doesn't have an agenda or a platform out of the 7 of us, but I feel that that is because I don't have one outright. I believe that our city's been left with a void with Mr. Newell's resignation, and that it's our job to step up and fill that void right now. And learn where we're needed and learn how we can help. And that's why I feel the need to be here, to help. And it's not, none of us should be doing this for a pat on the back. It's because I believe my experiences in this town, in this school district, as a nonprofit director and as a small business owner can enable me to be use of my community in a vital way. Thank you.
My name is Travis Beard. Thank you for being here. I came to Tupelo in 1968 as a student teacher at Tupelo High School, and later that year accepted a job at Milan. This past June, I retired from the same school district and the same school that I began my career in. And I actually had no political ambitions when I retired. Except I did want to stay involved with the city, and I did want to stay involved with the city schools. And I had no idea that being a representative on the council would be an opportunity that I would be interested in. But it did come available, and after talking with my wife, I thought that this is a way for us to stay involved in the city and give back to the community where we've raised 2 children, and it's been our home and provided us with a living for our entire lives. I owe everything that we have to the city of Tupelo, and especially to Tupelo City School. I've enjoyed walking the neighborhood the last couple of weeks, and I have no energy left either. It's been hot. There are some areas I hadn't been to every house. And if I missed yours, I apologize for that. I've been a member of the Kiwanis Club for 25 years. I currently serve as president of Kiwanis Club. I'm a member of Harrisburg Baptist Church. I'm also an inactive deacon at the Harrisburg right now. I volunteered for 8 Days of Hope. I just appreciate the opportunity of you having the opportunity to vote for your representative for the city council. Thank you.
Okay, now that everyone has gotten all this clapping out of your system, let's wait until the end of the closing statements before any further applause. And our first question, if you mention Tupelo in conversation to somebody who lives in another part of the state, they get an impression and thoughts about Tupelo. If you mention it to people in the city or people who live outside the city, they also have their impressions. For the candidates, when you think of the ideal Tupelo where you'd like to live in 10 years, tell us about that Tupelo. Mr. Beard?
I was in Atlanta this past weekend, and that subject came up of where you're from and Tupelo. When you think of Tupelo, of course, we mention our famous citizen Elvis Presley first. Also, Tupelo is an all-American city. When I think of Tupelo in 10 years, I want to think it would be a safe place to live, work, and raise a family. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Beard. Mr. Russell?
having lived here my whole life, I believe that 10 years from now, I'd like to see Tupelo be what I've grown up knowing, and that is a place that I wanted to raise a family in, raise my 3-year-old daughter in, and continue to see the city prosper in various ways, economically and both residentially as well. To see more people moving into the town and to see less moving trucks exit the city limits. So I think it's really important that we focus on a Tupelo that's going to want to bring people here and make it a place that everybody would want to live. Thank you.
Mr. Coutoumanos.
I think it's amazing over the years what Tupelo has done in its growth in the industry and how well we're known throughout the eastern, southeastern part, and actually the whole United States. When I go out of town and I'm in other places, and you mentioned Tupelo, the thing comes to mind is education is always seems to be good at the top of the list. They also mention our athletics. They also think of our city as a clean city, a safe city, and a place to come and to raise a family. I don't see that changing any. I think we can grow, we can expand. We got areas we need to build towards. But I think if we continue to build and work on the strength of our family structures, then these other things will come along and we'll continue to be successful.
Mr. Hall.
Well, three words come to mind: vibrant, robust, and diverse. And I think that the most important thing that Tupelo can be in 10 years is a destination choice. Tourism is something that is really going to be burgeoning and increasing all throughout the Mid-South, and I think Tupelo is primed and ripe to be a destination city, bringing more money into the town. I think we can have good paying jobs through tourism and Tupelo being a destination city. I also think that the diversity of industry is going to continue, and I think that we will always have good industrial development. That's what I see in 10 years. And I think I turned the microphone on.
Mr. Pitts?
Check the microphone. Robert, check the mic.
I think I just loosened the hold.
Going up the country calling hogs, I might not have needed this anyway. Yeah, I too envision a city that would be known as a safe city, a city where people are welcome, where neighbors are neighbors. You know, I see that as I went around to and visited the different people and got to know different people and had the opportunity to get acquainted with people. And you know, we are a very friendly town. We're a very friendly city. We have the tourism, and certainly we want to attract those jobs to our area where people could live a good lifestyle, where people would want to live here. I envision seeing neighborhoods, especially in the very heart of our town, and our local neighborhoods here, that when houses come up for sale, people are standing in line for them. And I really think that's what we need to do. We need to really become active in selling our community and selling our town. Thank you.
Mr. Breedlove?
In 10 years, I'll be 40 years old. We'll all be 10 years older. My son will be 12 years old. I think it's important that we start making plans now. My 6 opportunities for a better Tupelo, it clearly outlines 6 areas that in 10 years we can focus on. Number 1, we need to make sure that we're growing jobs here in South Gloucester Business District. If we create jobs in this area, we're going to be able to get in the younger people that are going to want to move into these neighborhoods, that are going to want to invest in the area. They're going to want to have children in this area. Their children then will go to school in this area. How are we going to fill the needs of the 21st century jobs? Well, we have to make sure that we're providing 21st century education. There's a lot of things that we have to do, but what we have to do most is start planning now. Now is the time to plan for the next 10 years. Thank you.
Ms. Holliday-McGee.
What do I envision for Tupelo in 10 years? Tupelo is an all-American city. I expect that in the next 10 years, the population of Tupelo will be diverse, and that we will need a strong economic base. In 10 years, we can have that strong economic base by building stronger businesses, catering to the population that we have and the population we expect to come into Tupelo. Tourism is important, but the people that live here are more important. They provide an economic base. They get out and they spend their dollars. So in 10 years, we have to make a city that people want to live in and that people want to invite other people to come and live in. Thank you.
For our next question, each of the candidates come from a different background, have different experiences and perspectives. What unique strengths would you bring to Tupelo's city government? Mr. Breedlove?
Well, when it comes to strength, I think that one thing that sets me apart is I'm young, but that isn't the only thing. Young age does not require, does not mean that you have what it takes to do this job. What it takes to do this job is being able to work with different types of people. People that you agree with, people that you don't agree with. We have to find common goals to move our city forward in a financially and socially responsible way. I have worked in Oxford, Mississippi. I have worked in Memphis, Tennessee. I have worked with the young, I have worked with the old, and I have worked with every demographic that you could ever think of, the rich, the poor. We have to be able to use use what we have that are strengths within our city, and have a leader who is able to communicate with all types of people in this area to move our city forward. Thank you.
Ms. Holliday-McGee.
It's up and down, it's not easy. What strengths do I bring to the table? Leadership roles. I've spent the last 8 years in Tupelo taking on leadership roles on committees. As I said, as the Vice President of Audubon Association. Before that, in Chicago, President of social organizations, President of community organizations. I believe it's my responsibility to step up in my community, whatever that takes. I need to be the voice of the people. It's not what I want, it's what you want and what you want me to do for you. Thank you.
Next is Mr. Pitts.
I think one of the biggest things that God has blessed me with is his ability to bond with people on a very personal level. And you know, when we go to the city council to start doing business, we need to be able to have a family atmosphere. We need to feel like we're family, just as this town does, and just as this community does. And I've always had any job or any position I was ever put in, I was always seemed to be the go-to man to find the problems and break them down and solve them. Sometimes, you know, the problems would take too big a chunk at one time. My dad always taught me that when you have a big job to do. Sometimes you have to break it down to where, in pieces you can handle. So, I believe I could bring that and break our problems down to a size that we can handle and work one road at a time, just like we did in Cottonfield. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Russell?
Coming from a background of nonprofit and also family-owned business, I see the need of need versus cost. What you need to operate something versus what it costs. So it's very interesting going from a nonprofit world all day long, and in an aged facility, you see the things that you need, the things that need to be done. You go home at night or on the weekends, you go to the business and you see what needs to be done and turn around easily, write a check for it right that minute. So I think that's a lot like a city in which there's this cost analysis versus the needs of the community that you have to weigh them both, and I feel like I bring that to Tupelo.
Next is Mr. Coutoumanos.
In my healthcare background, being a team player and being a decision maker are critical. You have to have somebody that can make a decision, and sometimes those are life or death decisions. And some words just came to my mind: persistence, as I mentioned in my earlier remarks, respect for all of our council members, being a team player, being a decision maker, and being a listener to all of you are important to me, and those are things that I would bring to the council.
And to wrap up this question, we'll have Mr. Beard and then Mr. Holt.
My strength would be from my experience in education, working with the public, being a member of a team, learning to listen. I think is a skill that as an administrator, I exercise more than any other, and I'd be willing to listen to the concerns that you have, and then be an effective communicator to communicate those needs to as part of the team that this alderman would be a part of for the city council. Thank you.
Well, I think I have three strengths: leadership, experience, and vision. And I've tried to communicate that to everyone whose door I've knocked on and everyone who has read my printed materials. And I think that comes from being a pastor. I think that comes from serving on several boards in Tupelo. It also comes from being the executive director of a statewide organization. And what that does is it allows you to be able to build consensus. It allows you to be able to build coalitions. And I agree that you don't have to agree with someone to be able to develop a relationship with them and to be able to have a give and take. One of the dynamics of being a representative of a certain ward or district is that while you represent that certain ward or district, you still have to look out for the whole of the city. And I think I can do that best. Thank you.
Next, for our third question, in Ward 3, code enforcement remains a hot topic. Since I've been out talking to people in Ward 3, I've seen grass not cut. I've seen people's with yards with trucks and other vehicles in their front yards on the grass. I even saw a llama and a donkey. And so, do you see code enforcement as a concern? And how can the city improve code compliance? And starting the question, Mr. Russell.
We should put the llama and the donkey to work. I think code enforcement's huge. It would be ridiculous to ignore that. I think it's been something that has been a little lax over the past few years, and I don't think that's as much as turning a blind eye to it as it is just the work that the employees have had to put out to check up on everything. I think these overlay districts that the city are trying to implement are a great idea that are going to help out with that, but also the neighborhood associations continuing to meet, continuing to thrive, to be able to keep covenants in order is a huge plus. But to just disavow the code enforcement altogether is not a good thing, because I think everybody on the current council that's the one thing they can agree on is how important code enforcement is and what we need to do to check up on things better.
Mr. Coutoumanos?
I think part of our responsibility as a city council person is to do the best we can to make sure that our neighborhoods and streets and such are taken care of, and that the codes are being enforced. I find that actually out of the job description necessarily directly related to the council member. It's more of a mayor responsibility, as we do budget approval of board and authority members, ordinances, and ward needs. I will be persistent in what I do to make sure that that they know that we're here and we have needs, and that they hear from us. And I think persistence is the way that we get those things done, is if we stay after it and don't let it fall by the wayside. And for sure, we don't want to give up and walk away from it and just assume that it can't be done.
Mr. Beard?
Being a school administrator, I know the value of rules and regulations, being fair to all the people in the community and the people that we serve. I'm a firm believer if you have the rules, enforce the rules, and be fair to everyone. So I would work in that capacity to see that the rules are enforced fairly to everyone involved in our Ward 3 community.
Mr. Breedlove?
I have to say I agree with Mr. Beard, 100%. I think that if we have rules in place, they're there for a reason. We shouldn't add any new rules because we're not enforcing the rules we already have. But I also believe one thing is rules that we have in regards to code enforcement should be a universal city rule. The way that we treat Spring Lake should be also the way we treat Lee Acres. We should make sure that this city, this part of the city, Ward 3, is being held to the same standards as the richer community. It is unacceptable to me that we allow some things in certain neighborhoods and we disallow some things in other neighborhoods. I think it should be enforced, and we should make sure that you have a leader in place that is going to make sure that your needs are met, and that people that don't cut their grass, we're on it from day one.
Mr. Hall?
You know, this is where the word vigorous comes in, because I think that what is needed more than anything else is vigorous communication and just vigorous diligence to make sure that whoever is supposed to enforce these codes, whatever part of it, it could be the police department, it could be code enforcement, it could be animal control. There are a lot of different parts to this, and I think that it's going to be the city council person's job to continuously and vigorously communicate those needs to all of those departments. One of the things I really like what Ms. Holliday said, and you know, I still ask everybody to vote for me instead of the other 6 people, but one of the things that I really like that she said is, this is not a popularity contest, and whether or not we elect someone who's going to vigorously support these rules is going to be up to you, and not just elect somebody who's popular.
Rounding out this question, Ms. Holliday-McGee, and then Mr. Pitts.
Reverend Hall, I thank you for that shout out. Code enforcement, is it important? It definitely is. Code enforcement, compliance is one of our key issues. If we're going to maintain property values, then code enforcement is essential. One of the things the council person is going to have to do is make sure that we have enough code enforcement officers to be out on the street to issue those citations and make sure properties are brought up to code. It hasn't been done. We need to make sure it happens. It's as simple as that. Thank you.
You know, the code enforcement was the driving force for me even signing up for this job. Because, you know, we see the problems, we got some very severe problems. Not all of the properties are entirely code enforcement. We have some other things. I think whoever takes this job and whoever gets elected will need to sit down and make sure that the codes are enforceable. We may need to look at them. I do agree they all need to be fair all over the entire city. And we need to check the covenants. There's been some discussion back and forth about whether some of the covenants are enforced. So I think we're going to have to look at the entire picture. We're going to have to look at each piece of the puzzle to make sure that it's fair and attainable. And then we'll need to sit down and certainly it will be the responsibility of whoever's elected to make sure that those are met in our neighborhood. Thank you.
For question number 4, I see Councilwoman Ms. Nettie Davis in the audience, and this will be particularly interesting for her. This election could have a critical impact on a key issue discussed by Mayor Jason Shelton and members of the City Council, public transportation. What thoughts do you have on public transportation? Does the city need it? Can it afford it? Is this something you would support? Mr. Hall.
I don't have the numbers, but I can tell you by anecdotal experience and just conversations with other folks, there is a large segment of our population that doesn't have transportation. And I think that we can be able to put something in place in order to help and assist those folks without spending a lot of money for the city. One of the things that I've advocated is some kind of a program where we subsidize the traffic companies. We have a partnership with traffic companies, with the taxi cab companies in order to assist in public transportation. It's needed, and I think that there can be some kind of an interim program put in place until a long-term solution is put in place so that we can assist the elderly, young people, and everyone else that needs to get from north to south or from east to west. This is an important issue, and I don't think that we need to shy away from it. I think we need to have some very sober-minded discussions about it and get it done.
Next, Mr. Pitts, and then Mr. Beard.
You know, when I think about transportation, I think back that my wife's mother was in a nursing home for a long time, and she was disabled to go, and certainly so we had to deal with you know, a parent that wasn't able to go and had to step up. But lately I've been looking and studying this issue because it's come to my attention. It wasn't something that affected me directly. But our city is so spread out, it's hard to come up with a simple answer. We have a need, and certainly we need to look at all options we can. I'm not sure if the answer would be to have somebody come in and do another study. I understand there's been several studies, and I've read articles about them. So, you know, I would love to be able to sit down and just put some common sense talking sessions into it. But you know, I'm afraid it would be one of those issues where we would have to throw a lot of money and do a little good unless we can really unless we can come up with a real good plan. I'd have trouble voting for it right now. Thank you.
Here are the words that come to my mind on public transportation. we say there's a need. I personally would need to know, have some information and facts about what those needs are. What is the cost to the city? What are the guidelines for running the transportation system? Where are we going to, start and stop? Where are we going? How often are we going there? What are the hours of operation? Is it 24/7 or just during the day? And is it feasible for our current budget? So those would be some issues that I would like to discuss with me before I could have an opinion whether I would support public transportation or not.
Next, we have Ms. Holliday-McGee and then Mr. Coutoumanos.
Public transportation, do we have a need? Several years ago, I sat on some of the early committee meetings about public transportation here in Tupelo. Lately, I've met with AARP and other members on the Public Transportation Committee. Yes, Tupelo does have a need. Is it going to be expensive? Probably. But do we let the cost deter the fact that we have a need? Can we make a plan to make sure that we incorporate, and it may not be this year or next year, but can we plan to institute public transportation? Everybody's car isn't going to work all the time. The need for public transportation is there. We have people who could work if they had steady transportation. So there are a lot of tie-ins with public transportation. It is an important need. Thank you.
I think one of the greatest times in the life of a youth age person is the anticipation of being able to drive their own car and to have their own car and the freedom it gives them to go and come. I think one of the saddest times in a person's life is when they reach a senior age or they get to the point when they lose their ability to drive, and it's that last bit of freedom that they have. I think we need to take a serious look at public transportation. I do need some more answers to cost and how we would afford to do it. But I think it's a sad day when people can't go and come in the free country that we live in because they don't have a way to go and come. So I could support it, but I need some more information on how we would afford to do it. Thank you.
Rounding out this question, Mr. Russell and Mr. Breedlove.
I support a plan in place to find a way to make public transportation happen. The cost analysis I've seen in the initial years, somewhere between $350,000 and $650,000, is a huge bracket number. Luckily, some of these meetings that took place with ARP and the MDOT happened at Link Center, so I was lucky enough to take part in these discussions. I think it's a great idea. I think it's something that I've seen with my own eyes that we need, both in these neighborhoods and from these meetings. But initially, where are we going to come up with this money? That's the huge hurdle, and that's the hurdle with a lot of these things. It goes back to this cost versus need analysis. So finding a way to pay for it, of course, the biggest hurdle, but I do think it's something that the city could greatly benefit from.
Public transportation is very vital. It's vital to the future of this the future of this city. It's the number 2 on my 6 opportunities for a better Tupelo. To admit that Tupelo is growing, we talked about the next 10 years. Well, let's talk about the next 20 years. We're going to have to make financially responsible decisions over the next 3 to 10 years. And I believe one of them is going to have to be providing Tupelo with some means of public transportation. I support a trial run on it. The cost I would like to see, I would make sure that it's financially responsible. But to say that there is no need, that is not the truth. The truth is this: it is a need, and it's going to be an increasing need. We have to make sure that we can get people that want to work, And we have to make sure that we provide opportunities for the elderly to get to their doctor's appointments and to refill their prescriptions. Thank you.
When I keep saying Mr., I kind of feel like I'm on Ferris Bueller. Mr. Bueller. So with the 2010 census, the city of Tupelo had extremely sluggish growth, about 1%, while some of the surrounding areas had very significant growth. What thoughts do you have on retaining Tupelo's existing residents and attracting others to the city? And Ms. Holliday-McGee.
Oh, gee, that one.
Tupelo growth. First of all, let's look at why there hasn't been such a huge growth over the last couple of years. I looked up home sales in Tupelo in 3 days, in 3 different weeks, and the average was 540 homes for sale in Tupelo. That's a lot. In the 3rd ward, it was 340 something. Now, what's the problem? Why are people moving out of Tupelo? Why are there for sale signs everywhere you look? And why are these homes taking so long to sell? And when they don't sell, why are they becoming rental properties? So when we talk about growth of Tupelo, we have to address the issue of flight from Tupelo. And that's something we have to sit down, we have to talk about, and we need to poll these people that are moving. Thank you.
Next, we have Mr. Breedlove and then Mr. Russell.
Well, I think this is it's not a simple answer, but I think there's 3 reasons. One, there's communities. And there, in this particular area, there's the deterioration of certain communities. I lived here 15 years ago, lived right here on Lawndale, and if you go south, you see that some neighborhoods have deteriorated. A lot of people moved out. Some people are, people I've talked to in the community are planning to move out. We have to find what works. We have to find ways to keep these people here. 2, I think, is education. Because the kids of today are going to be the adults of tomorrow, and families that are young, they want to make sure that they're coming to an education system that is top notch. And 3 is jobs. I mean, this area is prime for redevelopment, and we should make sure that we're ensuring that South Gloucester business area is a productive zone and is open to future growth. So thank you.
I echo what everybody else is saying, I think, but one of our greatest strengths in Tupelo is our school district. And I think that is where the work begins to bring people in, to keep people here, and to keep them continuing to buy homes in this area. I've seen people that have moved to Tupelo specifically for Tupelo Public School District, and I think that is a huge endeavor, and I think we need to find ways to keep employing teachers that are there not just for a job, but are for a career, that are there to help and to teach. And I think that is a great thing that are going to keep families growing in this area.
Next, we have Mr. Pitts and then Mr. Beard.
Again, I think a large part of that is our code and code enforcement. You can't, and I didn't come up with this phrase. I heard it. Someone else said, you can't sell ugly. You must have a neighborhood that's attractive. When people come in and they see houses in disrepair and they see some of the problem we got, it's frankly a turnoff. I could take you to 2 houses within hollering distance of me that I wouldn't buy. I wouldn't even go look at them because I see a problem across the street. I do think we need to work with our real estate people. We need to be actively engaged with them because they're in the business of selling houses. We need to see what is needed. And I think that would be a very productive thing for a council person to do is to work actively with them. They have meetings, go to them, and if you have a problem, find someone who is expert in that field and let them work on that problem with you. Thank you.
Number one is affordable housing. And in order to have affordable housing, we need jobs. In order to have jobs, we need some skills. So I see the public schools as a vital player in developing skills for kids, along with the junior college. Their jobs, manual jobs, good paying jobs available if kids have the skills. The other thing that I would mention is that we need to keep building up our neighborhoods. And that takes everybody in this room, it takes everybody living here. We all have a part in that, not just the city councilman, not just the mayor, but we all have a part in keeping our community a community that we'll be proud of.
Mr. Hull and then Mr. Coutoumanos.
Well, I'm thinking the key is home ownership. And I've talked about this to a lot of folk, because when people own their homes, they have more pride in them. They try to make sure that the property values are up. How we get more home ownership, I've got some thoughts and ideas about it, but I only have about 30 seconds to talk. But I do believe that part of the problem is home ownership. And if we can tackle that, I think that Tupelo will cease to be a transient community. I was thinking Tupelo is a lot like what we see on WTVA. You see a news reporter, then you don't see them again. They just in one door, out the other door. One morning, next morning, they aren't there anymore. And this is what's going on in the city. We need to find a way to stabilize home ownership in this town.
I believe I mentioned in my opening comments all of the great things that I think that this ward has, that the reason that the wife and I will stay where we are. I continue to use the word persistence because I think whoever takes this position on the city council needs to stay involved and stay on top of the issues until they get resolved. We have great opportunities in our ward. The thing that concerns me the most over the last 7 years, and it's been going several years, and it's been going on a long time, is if I'm coming to move to Tupelo and I want to check out maybe what's in Ward 3 that's available, all you're going to hear from people is our homes and neighborhoods are declining. I think we got to get rid of that out of the media and out of the perception that people have about this ward, is that we're full of declining neighborhoods. We need to take a positive approach to this. Let the council representative work to get this done. Be persistent with it, not give up, and take care of your needs and to get our neighborhoods like they need to be.
This will be our last question. Ward 3 is home to the North Mississippi Medical Center. It has a number of other businesses, but many people would say that as far as businesses go, Ward 3 looks a little tired and maybe needs to wake up. What role could the city have to promote existing businesses and help encourage others to locate to Ward 3? Mr. Pitts and then Mr. Coutoumanos.
Well, I really don't have a good answer for that. I'll just tell you the honest truth. I'm not going to get in line so you tell you I have a plan for that. I do know we need to get with, we need to get with people who specialize in that. We need to be active in soliciting those businesses. Maybe tax rebates or whatever we have to do to get those filled up. We need, people will argue, well, they need to pay their fair share of taxes, but I would rather get a little tax from a business to have that space filled and be getting productivity and be getting the income into our area than I would to not get any. Certainly we have people that are employed with the city that specialize in that, and maybe they just need some encouragement, someone to stay after them, or the word persistent. I think persistence pays out, because many times that's what it takes, to somebody just stay on it till you get the job done. Thank you.
I think with the healthcare improvements to the medical center and the appearance that gives, I know we've had a Food World grocery store turn into a huge hematology oncology clinic, and I think with the great work that the Major Thoroughfare Program has done with our roads and highways and such, I think the groundwork is there and the foundation is there for us to take off with some industry or some businesses and such. I think what needs to happen is probably the council representative get with business leaders in this area, and maybe even use our Ole Miss and Mississippi State and our college resources to come up with a way to help promote and to grow and improve our ward as far as business goes.
What can we do in Ward 3 to prevent tripping? So, Miss Holliday-McGee, and then Mr. Beard.
All right. You mentioned the hospital as the largest employer in Ward 3. I don't know if any of you have heard, there's a federal program called Teacher Next Door. It's to motivate teachers to live in the neighborhoods where they teach because it builds community and fellowship. Well, why not work with the hospital on an incentive program very similar, where hospital staff get some kind of incentive for moving closer to the hospital. There's a lot of things. If we put it in a box and brain trust it, we could probably come up with some ways to make this an effective idea. Thank you.
The businesses on South Gloucester that I thought we'll mention, the 4-laning as a big help. Also, Highway 6 coming through has connected us to other parts, easy access to other parts of the city. I'm told that there used to be a business organization that was kind of put together for the purpose of building up South Gloucester and promoting South Gloucester. And my suggestion would be to get with those leaders and try to get that group going again, so that the people who are already there could encourage others to come to the area on South Gloucester.
Next, Mr. Russell.
Tell you firsthand about taking an aged facility and trying to make it look new again. And I think that's what you see a lot of down South Gloucester is aged facilities that have been left vacant. And the inclusion of Highway 6 coming in, I think, is the start of something big for that area. And I think we need to, the council person needs to work with business owners in Ward 3 along South Gloucester that are going to continue to thrive to try to bring more businesses in. It's been a declining area since I was a child. I can remember Walmart and a lot more things being that way, and there's not a whole lot going that direction anymore. So I think the more that we try to produce businesses in that area, the more traffic you're going to see, the nicer the businesses are going to be, and the more you're going to see these places thrive to make these age facilities look better.
Mr. Breedlove, and then Mr. Hall.
With my history of being in business management, business is very important to me. It's number one on my 6 opportunities for a better Tupelo, and I'll tell you the reason why. This area right here is prime. It is ready for redevelopment, but we have to also remember that there are already small business owners here that we need to keep here. We need to ensure that we do everything we can possibly as a city to continue to have them stay here, but also invite new businesses in town. I believe that the future of the businesses in the city are going to be south of the crosstown train. We just have to focus. We have to work with our other city leaders to ensure that any money that is invested in upkeep, we start putting upkeep here. In any way possible, this is what the future is. This is where we're going to build jobs. This is how we're going to affect our communities by bringing in younger people. So thank you.
You know, right after the 2009 election, there was a South Gloucester task force that was named by the city officials. And I had the honor and the pleasure of serving on that South Gloucester task force. And we met with local leaders and the previous city council person. And there was some talk. Things were really beginning to churn about how we could help to revitalize South Gloucester, what we could do to make it much more vibrant. There's that word again. And one of the things that was talked about was like a model, like the Main Street Association, where they would have promotionals and have their own special events and actually do a lot of things just on South Gloucester for South Gloucester. And I think that's needed again, and I would be more than happy to try to reconvene that task force and try to reconvene the folk to come together and make the area more vibrant.
This concludes our question and answer time, and just like for the opening statements, the candidates picked and drew numbers, and first is going to be Mr. Beard, and they have two and a half minutes.
Thank you again for the opportunity to be here. Thank the church for opening your facility. It's been a good experience for me as a potential candidate. It's been a new experience. I've enjoyed walking the neighborhood. I've learned about the neighborhood. My concerns here are similar to what I've already expressed. Safety is number one. I think that I would promote a safe neighborhood, and going along with a safe neighborhood is housing, covenants. I would support upkeep of the yards. Rental property has been mentioned, and I do think that that is part of our concern, that we need to have people owning homes in our ward. I think my experience in education would be an asset as an alderman. I've worked as a team member, helping solve problems, communicating with you and your concerns to the city council, and being part of that team would be something that I could bring to the table. We can and we will work together and promote Ward 3 and Tupelo as a positive to live, work, and raise a family. Thank you for the opportunity to be in here.
I think you guys have got your work cut out for you. I do want to thank Lawndale Presbyterian and the Lee Acres Neighborhood Association, the Head Journal, for having us here this evening. We were lucky enough to be asked to, or blessed enough to be asked by Mayor Shelton and the council to attend a work session meeting a couple weeks ago on the upcoming budget. And Mr. Beard said, when he introduced himself, that he was getting his feet wet by doing this, and I felt like I fell in the pool a little bit. It's been a very rewarding experience and gratifying. I've lived now in Ward 3. I grew up on Enoch Street, right off of Ida, my entire life, but I've lived here in Ward 3 for about 5 years. And getting to walk the streets, talk to people, some I know, some I was meeting for the first time, has been extremely gratifying to find out where the issues are and where people feel the most needs to be met. And I think that that's what all of us, I hope, are trying to do, is have a servant attitude for the community and to try our best to get out there and help wherever we're needed. And that's what I'm trying to do.
I would again like to thank all of you for attending this forum. I would like to also thank our hosts. for such a wonderful way to engage our community. Over the last few weeks, you've invited me into your homes. You share with me your stories. The concerns that many of you have are quite unified, actually. It ranges from the needs for safer neighborhoods to better opportunities for our small business owners. One thing that is quite clear is that we need a leader who is going to work for the people. A leader who has a vision for the future of Tupelo and the ability to work with our fellow city leaders to ensure that this future begins right here in Ward 3. I have a plan that is outlined. It's called the 6 Opportunities. I've talked about it already. This plan includes the following. Number 1, growing the South Gloucester Business District. Number 2, investing in public transportation. Number 3, improving our neighborhoods. 4, living by the golden rule. Number 5, making Crosstown a productive zone. And number 6, prioritizing education and workforce development. Each and every one of these opportunities is key to ensure that Ward 3 becomes a symbol of progress and allows our entire city to see what happens when the people start working together. I understand that this decision that you have on Thursday is going to be difficult, not easy at all, but I want to assure you this. If you allow me to work for you, I will work tirelessly to ensure that the needs of Ward 3 are met and the future of your neighborhoods and your businesses are in good hands. I appreciate all the support and kindness that you've shown to my family and myself. And with your support on Thursday, we will set in motion for a brighter Ward 3 and continue to meet the expectations that come with being called an all-American city. Thank you.
Working as a community relations manager for a large hospice company, I found myself in a very challenging position. As you know, hospice is for individuals with terminal illnesses with 6 months or less to live. It was a very difficult program to promote. The cancer doctors worked hard to prolong life. Family doctors could keep one comfortable for a period of time. The physicians often hesitated to tell his patients that they were not going to get better, and family members did not want to accept it. I started the Tupelo office of this hospice company with 0 patients and the responsibility to educate the community and to obtain referrals to our services. After 1 year, we had 100 patients. I believe the reasons for this success were, number 1, I represented a very good product. I was persistent because I believed in our services. I never gave up trying to help others, and the physicians learned to trust me. We have a good product in Ward 3. I will be persistent and never give up trying to reach our goals, and you can trust me at all times. In my current position as an independent medical examiner, I do random drug screens for corporations and life insurance exams. Included in the life insurance exam process are lab specimens to be collected. No one likes to have the needle stick done to get their blood. In fact, I've had individuals and husbands and wives faint on me during the process. My job at this point to reassure the proposed insured. By this time, they already know what my background is, and they know that I'm not a painter or a plumber, that I've done this before. So what I do is simply tell them that if I were them, I would want me drawing their blood. Almost always they tell me that it was not bad at all. So I want to leave you with this one thought tonight as we end. If I were you, I would vote for me on Thursday for your city council representative, and I promise you the results will not be bad at all. Thank you.
You know, I've been asked several times during this very, very short election, why didn't I put more of my credentials on my informational materials? Why didn't I tell folks that I was special assistant to the president at Mary Holmes College for 4.5 years, served as public affairs director with the governor's office for 2.5 years, was a public affairs specialist in the Army for 9.5 years. Why didn't I tell folk about my credentials? And my answer has always been the same. People don't elect credentials. People don't want to elect degrees. What they really want are the three things that I have on my printed materials: leadership, experience, and vision. And if you really want somebody who's going to be an advocate for you, who's going to stand up for Ward 3, who will fight for Ward 3 and all of your needs and address all of these issues that you say that you want addressed, I'm your guy. And I can tell you right now that I will be the biggest fan and fighter for Ward 3. Thank you so very much.
Okay. Have trouble counting sometimes.
Since this is my closing remarks, I'd like to start with a quote from a landscaper who told me once that more people drive through than stop by. What does that mean? That means code enforcement is important. That means planning for future growth is important. That means leadership skills to make sure that code enforcement gets in place and we have compliance, that public transportation is put in place so that we can make sure more people drive through than stop by. Why am I here? Because the 3rd Ward is important to me. I came in as a transfer, I guess, and I felt like this community was embracing and that I had to give something back. So I volunteered. And in that volunteering, I began to volunteer in other ways. It's important to me that we give back to the community that we live in, that we don't go home and shut our doors and forget about what's going on outside. I'm here, I'm willing to work, I'm willing to listen, and I'm willing to fight for you because you are my neighbors, and my neighbors are important. Thank you.
I think it's supposed to be an advantage to go last, but I'm not sure. I do thank everybody that had a part putting this on, and everybody that showed up. You know, it was raining outside, and some of you didn't want to mess your hair up. But I do appreciate you coming out. I appreciate the opportunity to do this. I've enjoyed going around and meeting people, you know, and getting to know neighbors. So if nothing else, I've met a lot of new friends. And that's good. I think that's what we need to be as friends and neighbors. We moved here 14 years ago, and our life has been wrapped up in a very close circle. We have a church that we love here in this neighborhood, and we raised our daughter here. Our grandkids come and play, and so you know we're very much attached to this. We're planning. We're here to stay. Have no intention of going anywhere. And like I stated before, the code enforcement I think is where we got to start. Now, there's a lot more work to be done. You know, one thing that we talked about is rental property, and I do say this: I've seen examples of rental property that doesn't really distract from the. You know, I really think we're stuck with them. So maybe we need to work on plans to see if we can keep all the rental property up to the same standard the one on my street is. I didn't know it was a rental property until they put a little sign in the street next to the street, and the house was empty for about 2 months. And guess what? Every week the yard was mowed. It looked like it was lived in, other than just that little sign right out there. So that's a groundwork we can work from. You know, we can find remedies, we can find problems, and get remedies for them. I don't really come to you with a fancy plan to get everything done. I'm not a highly educated man. I graduated high school with good grades, and I've always had the ability to work things out and you know, solve problems, break them down to a point where you can handle them. You know, one strength I do have that's not been mentioned is I do have experience with the railroad. Crosstown has always been a big issue here. I have worked on the railroad 25 years, They will not buffalo me. I understand what they do and what it takes, okay? So I just asked you to just, and we all have a strong burden for this neighborhood. So I'll just leave you with this. I would ask, and I've asked most people I talk to, that if you would please just pray, and whoever the Lord puts on your heart, you vote for him, because that's what we need, whoever the Lord would have here. Thank you, sir.
So there you have it. You hear the 7 candidates running for Ward 3 special election. In just a moment, the Daily Journal Executive Editor Lloyd Gray and the Lee Acres Neighborhood Association President, Ms. Sherry Ashley, will come up here. But public service is tough. I mean, they have all kinds of people that call them, they want things, and it's often a thankless job. So right now, let's give all of these candidates a round of applause. Say, Mr. Gray and Ms. Ashley.
Thanks, Robbie. I just want to echo what Robbie said in appreciation for these ladies and gentlemen doing their civic duty and beyond by offering themselves for public service in this very important time in our community. And I really believe we had a very informative and substantive discussion tonight, and we appreciate that very much from each of you. And I also would again like to thank the Lee Acres Neighborhood Association, which was more than willing and excited to join with us in this venture, and Lawndale Presbyterian Church for allowing us to use these facilities. We appreciate that very much. And to you who came tonight, thank you for coming. Ms. Ashley, would you like to have a final word?
I too want to thank each and every one that has come out tonight, and each one of the candidates that have took up their time, their busy schedule out to go around in Ward 3, our neighborhoods, and find out our needs and our concerns. It is very important. This councilman that you and I are electing, they need to be there not only for the city needs, they're supposed to be there for our needs as well. And in order for us to have that connection between our neighborhoods, that to me is so important. Now, I haven't said, but I've been here for 14 years. And I have really got a heart for the Lee Acres neighborhood. And it's amazing how I became president. I just had a lady that was the former president. She came by, and she was doing yard sale flyers and handed them out. And I thought, yeah, I want to do a yard sale, you know. From that, then I found out there was an association meeting every month. I thought, well, you know, that's my neighborhood, and I want to have a part. And so now here I am today. But I want to encourage excellence, not just for our neighborhood, but for all neighborhoods. And the councilman is a very important person that connects our neighborhoods with the city. So I want to encourage each one of us that are voters to go out September 4th, which is Thursday of this week, and the time is from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., and cast your vote. Now, you've heard each one of the candidates, so we've got an idea. You want to cast your vote for the one that you think will make that, stand in the gap for us and make a difference for every one of us, our neighborhoods and our city, because they're all important. And right now, we're going to close, but we're going to let each one of the candidates mingle among you. They said if you've got any kind of questions or if there's something that you want to talk to them individually about, that they're supposed to be willing to do that. And also, don't forget, if you want some coffee and there's any cookies left back there, they're available for your getting. Thank you for coming out.